starting a new series. Starting a new series like it's not a whole new channel. Starting a whole new channel with multiple series in mind, and one of them is Legendary Looks, where we're talking about influential makeup artists, post and modern and post, old and new, legendary, just makeup artists that have made a difference. It's one of those things where if you do makeup without knowing where the techniques come from, you can do it. Yeah, sure. You can learn the techniques, you can do the techniques, you know how to do everything, but like knowing where things come from, knowing who did it first, knowing your foundations and what to build off of is better. Dick Smith is known as the Godfather of makeup. This is awful.
This is great.
But Dick Smith is known as the Godfather of makeup, which is ironic because he also was the makeup artist for The Godfather. But anyway, so Godfather of makeup, we're starting there because why not? Actually, I feel like I did start with Dick Smith because they just released a book about him. So I think he was just in my brain, because I realized when I was looking for more in-depth information about him, I don't actually know a lot about him, I haven't seen most of the stuff he made. So Dick Smith was born June 26, 1922 in New York. So it's funny how there are makeup artists nowadays that you listen to interviews and they're like, I knew I wanted to be a makeup artist from a young age. I was 6, getting magazines or getting this or watching these, and I wanted to be a makeup artist. Dick Smith was actually originally on a pre-med track for dentistry. He went to Yale for dentistry. Wild. Discovered a book called Paint, Powder, and Makeup, and then fell into doing makeup. I'm sure there's more details into that, but basically he fell into makeup on his way to dentistry, and the industry is much better for it. He actually got his start at WNBC TV in 1945. He was there for, I think I wrote down 14 years. I cannot read my own handwriting. There are 2 really big things that he is remembered for. The makeup-wise, he is best remembered for his aging makeups. Dustin Hoffman as Jack Crabbe in Little Big Man. Haven't seen it. And Amadeus as well are really big aging makeups. He, with aging makeup, was the first to use, so previously in the industry, prosthetics traditionally back in the day were all foam latex, and they were all full face foam latexes. And he was the first to start with multi-piece appliances. So pretty much what that means is instead of having one huge face that kind of looks like a mask, you've got a lot of small pieces all put together that work to build a whole, but it's small pieces. So you might have like a cheek, a nose, a chin, as I pointed the wrong spots of my face. It's cool. So he was the first to do that and did it with his aging makeups, which obviously made them look a lot more realistic, gave the actors more space to move, probably loved by everybody. So he was the first to do that. But also his big thing, and one of the other things that he's really well remembered for, is that he didn't gatekeep his knowledge. Lon Chaney, I'm looking at you. He shared. You had questions, he told you. You wrote him a letter, he'd answer you. He was very, very... What's the word?
Influential?
No. Sharing is caring. Very, generous. So he also published a DIY monster makeup book. Wait, that's the one I own. I meant to grab it. Dick Smith's. Is this in frame?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get a picture of it later. This is not the first printing. This is the 5th printing, and I do not want to admit how much I paid for it. It was a lot of money, but totally worth it. It also has an introduction by Rick Baker. We will be covering him on a later date. The book is really cool. It's a really good intro to makeup. We will be doing... I didn't know this was on there. We'll be doing one of his looks from here. But it covers a lot of super basic information. Really great if you manage to get a hold of it. Classic collector's piece. So he published the book in Filmland magazine as part of the series, a special edition of the series, and it has since gone off to be published as an individual book. He shared / taught, is what I was trying to say, his techniques to others. He did mail correspondences with a lot of different people. Like if you wrote him a letter, I listened to Last Look podcast, and they interview a lot of established, I say younger, but like 30s, 40s makeup artists currently. And a lot of them were like, oh yeah, I wrote him a letter and he wrote me back. And it's just like, dang. He also established a school. It still exists. Dick Smith. You can actually learn effects from the Dick Smith school. So movies, if you're like me and you don't really watch a lot of movies, but you're like, what has he done that I would have seen? The Exorcist is one of his big name horror movies that he did the makeup on for Reagan. It was a pioneering in a lot of practical effects, not just makeup, but practical effects. If you've ever seen behind the scenes of it, there's a lot of them here on YouTube, but Exorcist is one of the really big ones for practical effects that he did stuff for. But he also is big for The Godfather. And he's the godfather of makeup, so that's why I said it all comes back around in the end. Anyway, but the squib for the Godfather, the bullet hole scene, which I'm going to talk confidently as if I remember what this scene is, but the squibs in the bullet hole scene, there wasn't anything like that established in the industry at the time. Like, he did that. It's wild. And it looks great, and it holds up well. I don't know. I don't remember the movie. I didn't like The Godfather. But he had a lot of correspondence with makeup artists like Rick Baker, who is one of his proteges. Rick Baker helped him on The Exorcist with the practical effects. And then the other big thing that Dick Smith did is he is who first invented Pax paint, which is huge. We all do it. There's a whole brand called Pax paint now. But he was the first to come up with it because he needed to do a aging makeup for Mark Twain Tonight in 1967, but he needed something that would last, look good. So he combined liquid latex and acrylic paint. Now we don't use liquid latex. Now it's more common to use like Prosade or something like that. But he was the first to use that technique. So, I mean, it's wild. He has changed the way the industry does makeup and still does makeup. We still use Pax paint. We still do multi-piece appliances. You look at any huge makeup nowadays that's still practical. Let's go back to practical. And it's multi-pieces. You're putting all these smalls. And that was him. He was the start. Not to say that someone else couldn't have come up with it given time, but like he started it. He was that man. He's the godfather of makeup. It has also come to my attention while editing that I have neglected to mention, or that I did neglect to mention, the fact that unfortunately Dick Smith has passed. He passed away July 30th, 2014. So it has been a little over a decade. I think I was going through present tense, past tense with him, but I don't think I ever, actually, I know, I never actually mentioned his passing. So he has unfortunately passed, so he is no longer able to respond to questions and things, so find another artist to bother. Don't bother people. Okay. The other part of what we're going to be doing for Legendary Looks is a recognizable look from the artist. Dick Smith is best known for his age makeup. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is an age look straight from his little book. It's not a look specific. He's got like DIYs for a bunch of different looks and things, but it is something that he does break down and explain with highlights and contours, lines and wrinkles. Highlights and shadows are a very big part of makeup, whether beauty or effects. So it's something he talks about and explains. So we're going to be using his wrinkle map. It will come out, I don't know, I was about to say like stage makeup, but it also cannot be a stage makeup. So we'll see how it comes out. For old age makeups, Dick Smith recommends using cream makeups. I will be using the RCMA palettes are going to be my creams. Technically not a cream, but close enough. And then I'm also going to be using powders for some highlights and shadows, and I'm using my Ben Nye palettes. And then you'll probably be seeing his face a lot. This is my partner Adam, and he is probably going to be my model for quite a bit. Sure. Why did you act like I was about to attack you?
I don't know.
Dear Lord.
So what she's doing now, Marge, is she's putting on the powder. She's putting on the powder to make me look party. We don't want any shine, we don't want any glossiness. She's putting on the powder to get rid of the glossiness, Marge.
You just bit me! Why?
Tilt it down. He's moving. For all of you with a feet fetish.
Kiddo! Here.
Come here, Mulder. Come here, Mulder cat. Hello, the Mulder cat. No, you can't. I'm sorry, you can't escape. I'm sorry. You gotta stay up here because you keep using your teeth. You can't use your teeth. No, let me love you. Let me love you and adore you. Please, we need to do something crazy so that the YouTube commenters say that I'm abusive.
If you would like to learn more about Dick Smith or watch interviews, there's so many people that have interviews with him that you can watch on YouTube, but I will post some links in the description box below if you want to learn more about Dick Smith. This is by no means an exhaustive history of. I personally did not know him. So this is just what the internet has told me. If you have any ideas or want to learn about anybody specifically next, write it in the comments. I've got a list. We'll see if they match. I'm not Santa Claus.
Comment and subscribe.
Oh God, I hate link, comment, and subscribe.